far as being a leader, you can't fake it. Look yourself in the mirror and say, am I being a good leader today? I mean, it's as easy as that. Am I the type of person that people want to follow? And if the answer is no, then you better do some work.
If I could go back in my lifetime and say, what's a big mistake? I wish I figured this out earlier.
Ask questions, ask why.
It takes a special leader to help you grow in a certain role.
Doesn't matter how I speak, doesn't matter how I look.
And it holds true as you think big and don't let anybody stop you.
Now that's a success story.
Welcome everybody to this episode of Success Stories. Today I have a special guest, an old friend of mine, Brian Ford, the co-founder and CEO of a couple companies, FordCom Wireless, as well as FordCom Electric. Brian, thanks for being on.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be here.
So we're just going to dive into it. I always start with the same question for everybody. And when you think back about your success story and how you landed and where you're at right now and how you got here, where does that story begin for you? Does it begin at an early age growing up? Does it begin, in adulthood when you finally figured shit out, or where's that start for you?
I think for me, it started at a young age. I grew up in not the best of circumstances in a little dinky town in Ohio, East Palestine. Kind of moved around a lot at a young age. A lot of brothers, a lot of sisters. Through all of that, there was always a hard work and dedication, and we always had to fight and claw to try to rise above everybody else. So I think at a young age, first in, last out mentality always was something that my twin brother and I had in us. So as different as we were, we always had to work harder than those around us.
Yeah.
So I think at a young age, that was, something that we had to do. But as I grew older, I just surrounded myself with quality people. So when we built our first business in 2018, I realized pretty quick that, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room anymore. I had 15 years of success in software, in finance, in data, three wild industries, completely different from the wireless contracting or electrical contracting businesses. So it was humbling for me to go into a field where, I'm the dumbest guy in the room. And I think when you're coming through college and you go out into the working world, you have this notion that, the smart people are the ones sitting behind the desk, right? And they're the ones that are telling the others what to do. But the rude awakening or what really opened my eyes when I got into more of the working man's world, people that are actually building things, right? Is those people were so smart. I mean, they can read prints, they can build things with their hands. I had it just really opened my eyes to a whole new world. And it was really good to see these folks are out there actually building things, right?
Yeah.
And I have just immense respect. The last 7 years since we started these businesses, immense respect for people that actually build things. Plumbers, HVAC, electricians, construction workers, roofers. Those folks, to me personally, are the smartest folks out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the trades, especially, and there's so few of them now, right? It's probably labor force is probably a huge. We can get into that later, but I imagine it's an obstacle for you guys. But you bring up an interesting point that you felt like you weren't the smartest person in the room anymore. But that's the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? When you're an employee, you need to prove yourself. You better be the smartest person when you walk into that room because you're always trying to prove yourself. As opposed to when you're the entrepreneur, it's the same thing I tell people here. If I have an internal meeting with my company, with my staff, and I'm the smartest person in the room, then I hired the wrong people because I need people to challenge me. I need people better and smarter than me to lift us up, right? And I think that's probably what you were sensing, what you're feeling.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, The reason my brother and I, and just to take you back, so my twin brother, Brent and I, we grew up, but we were wildly different, right? He was on one path, started climbing towers when he was 19, right when I went to college. And I had this sort of mindset of just getting away, right? Getting away and forging my own path, breaking the cycles, all the cliches that you hear. That was my mentality. So we come back together, right? We come back together at the age of 38. We're twins, right? And he's in the operational world building this career himself. He starts at 19 climbing a tower, but again, we have the same work ethic and drive and wanting to be the best, having to work harder than the next guy to be the best, not getting anything given to us, but having to earn it. So we come in and we have both sides of an organization set, right? Operationally, he's got 25 years experience, started as a climber, grew through the ranks, hired tons of people, had relationships in the wireless industry, and knew everything operational. Me, have the business background, led sales teams, did all that kind of stuff. Had the business background, business acumen, could do all the financials and stuff like that, and we could sort of come together. And why we're successful is we stay in our lanes, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to handling the back office in business development and sales and marketing strategy and stuff like that, that's my world. Brent, his world is operation, dealing with the guys and the headaches that comes with dealing with a workforce and things like that. That's his world, and it works really well that way. I think every
Yeah.
business needs the innovator, the person that's thinking high level, where we're going to be in 5 years, and then the tactical day-to-day person, and that's exactly what Brent is. A really good, one. I've becoming an entrepreneur. A lot of people read all the books, right? You got all the books, and you're just continuously feeding your brain with new ideas and things like that. Traction was my favorite by Gino Wickman,
Mm.
and it was really, the beauty of Traction is it's an operating system too. So it really helps you build the business and get it moving in the right direction.
So how is it, I know you guys stay in your lane and that you guys have some behind the scenes knowledge of you both, and you guys are very different people. How is it working with your brother, like with family, but not just family, a twin brother that you founded the company with? I'm sure there's some friction there. I'm sure there's some, you got it. There's probably some built-in trust there as well. So there's probably pros and cons both ways.
It's been great. I mentioned we're again wildly different people, but same, like really deep down, we're the same person, but he's interested in different things than I'm interested in. But when it comes to, um, again, that mentality of just get the job done and get it done right and do things the right way. That's the other thing is, to a person, one of the reasons we've been so successful is, honesty, integrity, just do the right thing. Don't cut corners, hold people to the highest standards. Don't ask anybody to do anything you won't do yourself. Brent is 46 years old and he's had health. I mean, he's been climbing towers since he was 19 years old. So you imagine how broken your body would be from doing that,
For
but he's
sure.
still doing it. He's still doing it. And imagine the respect that he gets from the 19 or 20-year-old that he still beats up the tower and down by being able to do that every day. And it's the same, and I try to hold myself to that same standard. I try to be first in, last out, first
Yeah.
on the sales call, last off the, just get in and get out and do the work and every day be the first one, first and last one, and hold the standard for everybody. So, and I think that's one of the reasons we've been successful.
Well, take me through that decision-making process of making the leap into to be an entrepreneur. What was that like for you? Because it's a calculated risk. Sometimes it's we make poor decisions, but we do it anyway. Sometimes it's a great decision, and we do it. Where did you fall? Take me through kind of that process of evaluating. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Had you always wanted to get into owning your own business? Give me some behind the scenes there.
I think I always wanted to. It was tough. I had a 15-year career that was great. Met a lot of great people, traveled to a lot of great places. Um, and it was on a really nice trajectory, but I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to try to do something on my own. When Brent sort of presented me with the opportunity to build something ourselves, right? You dig under the hood, you try to burn both candles, right? You try to do your day job, which I was doing at the time. This was 2017.
Yeah.
You sort of do all the things, you get ramped up, and you're dipping your toe into both waters, right? I'm working my day job while I'm also, digging into maybe starting this new gig. So you go through it until finally you reach a point where 6 months down the line, I think it was 6 months down the line, we were profitable within 3 months, 4 months, which is
Wow.
unheard of in any
That's quick.
business, right? And listen, it hasn't gone that way. Listen, running a business is a roller coaster, as you know, right? You go
Yeah.
through the goods and bad. We're in a very unique industry in that it's a monopsony. There's three carriers basically, right? You got your Verizon, your AT&T, and your T-Mobile, and they basically set the directive for the entire industry when it comes to contracting. So if they want to do price contraction, if they want to squeeze contractors, they can do it. So we had a great run, made it through a couple rough years, but we've made it out, and it kind of goes like that. But to take you back to making that decision, I just always wanted to be my own boss,
Yeah.
and it's literally as simple as that. It has been the hardest and most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I would never go back to working for anybody else. Um, would I go back and had done things differently? Yeah, absolutely. But I would never trade the opportunity to do things on my own.
Yeah.
Um,
What were some of those
yeah.
obstacles or those learning experiences where you're like, man, I didn't expect that, or wow, I wasn't ready for this type of thing that like opened your eyes where we all have some level of confidence or else we wouldn't make that leap. But, I believe we all still have those, oh shit, I didn't expect this type of moments.
Uh, I think you get caught in the day-to-days. You get so wrapped up as a business owner, and most people that start their own businesses, you get so caught up in the day-to-days that you lose focus on long-term strategy. I know we did a couple times, right? You're just so caught in the weeds. You're so caught and you're so focused on what's right in front of you that you lose sight on what's happened in the industry. And maybe there's a pivot point that you should be making in order to set yourself up for something that's going to be hot, right?
Yeah.
So in our industry, fiber became hot, right? Fiber, the directive from the government to get fiber access across the country became really hot. And we lost it. We lost it. We were so focused on carrier work that we didn't see, what was ahead of
Mm,
us in 12 to 24 months. So there's those points in times where that's the biggest mistake. We grew too fast at one point. We had so much work that we were hiring, and we staffed up. We had 60 employees, 2 offices in Ohio, and then the work dropped. And then you're
mm,
sitting there, and you know, for us, when we set the business up, it was what's our purpose, right? I always had this like, who do we want to be? It's not about making money. It's not about,
yeah.
it's like, who do we want to be? How do we want to differentiate ourselves from the next company? So you set up these sort of metrics on how you want to position yourselves against the competition. But for us, we wanted to, our purpose was providing. We live in we're from an area that doesn't have a lot of opportunity, right? So when you're in a small town and you're employing 50 people, you're a
Big
pretty
player.
big deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when you have to, lay 20 of them off, that hits hard. So we've had a couple of those times, and it's like, how do you make it through that, right? How do you make it through these aren't folks that have 3 to 6 months of savings, to make it
Yeah.
through it. So, we had to wait. So listen, I mean, the only way you can learn from some of those mistakes is by going through them. And we did it. We did learn from them. So now we can sort of see, we can see the writing on the wall when those next obstacles are coming. We're much better prepared now than we ever were 4 to 5
Yeah.
years ago.
To pivot. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah. Cause you're so focused on the day to day and the grind of, the simple things of delivery, making payroll, doing those things that you kind of you need to take up, put your head up to look around what's going on with the industry, kind of that mindset, the startup mindset of that's all you did at the beginning, right? Is trying to
Yeah.
figure out where's the industry, where's the void, where's the gap, where's the opportunity. And then you hit it. And then you're going 100 mile an hour with your head down and you forget to pop back up and take a look. Yeah.
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 Yeah. The other
And
the other thing we did too, if I can like draw back on it, we had one main customer when we started the business. It was our ironclad best relationship, and all eggs were in the basket. And that was a mistake
yeah, for
because
sure.
3 years later, that customer went away. And so again, to go back, you're so focused on what's right in front of you, and it's fostering that relationship with that one customer and making sure that it's good. Um, and we didn't do an adequate job of seeing what else is out there and dancing with other partners, right? So and that's one of those lessons that, once you learn it, now like we're continuously business development, continuously reaching out to other folks, continuously shaking hands and going to trade shows and getting on committees and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a valuable lesson.
So what's your day to day look like now?
I'm still heavily involved in administration. So, new contracts, um, back office, compliance, insurance. I'm pretty heavily involved with everything. I've done a pretty good job, of over the last 3 to 4 years of removing myself a little bit from the day-to-days. A year and a half ago, we started a union electric business in Cleveland. So we have an office in Berea, Ohio. So we have about 7 employees in Berea, Ohio. And that's grown, right? So we started with one employee, brought him in. Again, it's a union electric, so it's completely different from what we do on the wireless side, but it's slow and steady, right? Every year we grow. This year is going to be 200% growth over last year, and next year we expect the same in new contracts, same operating system that we have on the wireless side. So I'm heavily involved in both businesses, but when we started the business, I was doing payroll, right? Now we have folks doing that. When we started the business, I was doing project closeouts. So now we have folks doing that. So it's much more big picture.
Yeah.
Ultimately, as we continue to grow and add tentacles to the business units and things like that, then I'll be a little bit more removed from the day-to-days. But honestly, I love it. I love it. Um, I love facilitating meetings. I love constant communication back and forth. Um, I think the one thing that my background lends to the organizations are the ability to pull some of that stuff that I've learned in my prior lives in software and data. And you bitch and moan about it when you're in it, right? We used to have this, back at LexisNexis or message me to these other companies, it was like you used to complain about having meetings and talking about meetings, about your next meetings, and you used to complain about that stuff, but there was value in it. And when you take that sort of the constant communication, that sort of round tables and getting feedback between the top down and the bottom up, and bringing that to a smaller organization. I think these folks get it, and I'm happy to bring it to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think what type of leader are you, internally there with your organization?
By example, hopefully that's the kind of leader I am. I think that I'm accountable. Um, I try to be humble. I don't succeed every day. Every day is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Um, of all the business books I've read and all the knowledge I've gained over the past however many years of being in sales and marketing and finance and all these kind of fields, you try to pick and pull, not only from people that you've learned from, but resources that you've learned from. Um, eh, I try to listen. Can I be honest? Underneath this camera right here, I have a sticky note and it says STFU.
Yep. Yep.
STFU. And it's a struggle for me, if I'm being honest, because it is because there's a lot of conversations that I get into where I want to dominate the conversation. I don't listen to what the person's saying. I'm looking to get out the next thing that I want to say. So that is a constant reminder for me to sit back and shut up.
Yep.
And I've gotten a lot better. I've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. 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 You always get more done by listening, right? Than talking,
Hmm.
especially as a leader. And then, I think it was I forget who said it, but they always, whenever they walk into a meeting, they always make sure that they're the last person to speak in the meeting because they want to let the other people that are under them get to feel empowered and feel confident to speak because they always felt like in a meeting, if they spoke first, everything else was an afterthought. So they wanted to allow them to have the confidence and empowerment to speak, say what they need to say, get their agenda done, and then he would give his opinion at the end. I forget who that was, but it's something I've tried adopting as well. Of just keep your mouth shut, let everybody get everything out, because a lot of the people in your meetings, they have great ideas if you empower them and
Hmm.
they feel confident to share it. But if you dominate the
Yep.
meeting like you're talking about, then they're like, all right, he doesn't want to hear anything. Let's get this over with, right?
Absolutely.
So what in your guys' industry? Let's talk about the wireless industry. What's on the horizon for your guys' industry? What do you see coming down the line now? You talked about fiber a couple years ago coming through, but what's up next?
So they're building towers. So we're heavily involved in all the big tower builds that are going on. So, if you look at the timeline of that industry back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when towers started coming up. And you had 1G, then you had 2G, then you have 3G, then 4G, 5G was the latest. They're already talking about 6G. So, every time that technology changes, contractors are busy because we're taking all the old stuff out, putting new stuff in. So that is going to continue until the technology changes for good. I mean, I don't know. The whole Elon Musk and the satellites
Yeah,
and things like that, that's a potential disruptor in our business. So we're focused on that. It's one of the reasons why we started the electric company too, right? We wanted to have diversification.
yeah, for sure.
So I mean, we're just so busy. The three main carriers are always busy, whether it's building new sites, taking down old sites, putting new sites up, changing technology on the sites. It really doesn't stop. And there's, if you, I'm on our national workforce development committee. It's for our national trade association. The big issue in our industry is finding folks.
I bet.
Frankly, and we tell our guys this all the time. I wish the economics of the business were such that these guys made 60, 70, $80 an hour because they deserve it. We just had another fatality in the industry last week, the fourth this year, where a climber died in Texas, or Arkansas. So it's a dangerous job. It's a hard job. It takes the right kind of mental makeup for somebody to be able to do it. And there's always challenges with workforce development. There's always challenges with getting the
Yeah.
right folks. And so we're constantly wading our way through that. But with the electric business, our main areas of focus are access control, building automation, fire suppression systems, security systems. We do a lot of schools in Northeast Ohio for security upgrades and things like that. Um, DAS is distributed antenna systems. Those are the antenna systems that go inside a building. So when an Amazon warehouse is building a 50,000 square foot office or a warehouse, there's an internal network in there. So they don't have to be dependent on an outside tower,
Gotcha.
right? They don't have to be dependent on that. So
Hmm.
so there's so many things. There's so
Yeah.
many opportunities, so many customers. We're just continuously pounding the pavement trying to find the next thing.
So, what are some words of wisdom that you would have for people listening, for people thinking about taking the leap and starting their own gig, or even about leadership? What kind of is your North Star there, or what can you impress upon people listening to this? Either words of advice, words of wisdom, caution, anything that you think is valuable that you wish you had known.
I think the normal things, right? Due diligence is the first thing. Don't just jump in. Don't just jump in. That's my word. I mean, don't do your due diligence and like make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Um, do it with purpose. Do any, don't just do something to make money. Like, what's the purpose? What is your purpose? Like, what's the greater purpose that you're trying to fulfill? For us personally, you know, I may not have found our business purpose until we were like 1 or 2 years in. When we first started the business, I don't think my purpose was in the right spot. I think my purpose was probably the numbers look really good here. Um, I didn't know anything about the wireless industry, right? But the numbers looked really good. And then, a year and a half, once you've made those relationships with these folks and these folks are depending on you, that's when you get the purpose, right? And when you finally realize, oh, these folks are dependent on me being able to run this business and not run it into the ground, right?
Yeah.
So I think finding your purpose, and being an expert, I'm lucky in that I didn't have to be an expert, right? I didn't have to be an expert in this business. I was pretty good at being able to run a business. Had to learn a ton as we started, and I'm still learning a ton as we go. I'm still the dumbest guy in the room when it comes to what we actually do on a day-to-day basis up on the tower, right? And that's totally fine. We have folks that are way smarter than me. Um, but I would say make sure you have those boxes checked. I'm lucky. I had those boxes checked. I didn't have to check them. But if you don't have it checked, if you're an operator, if you're a plumber and you want to start a business, you better do some business schooling or figure out how to do financials and figure out how to, run the compliance and figure out how to do the insurance. And, it's not easy. So, you know, um, the good thing now is that, with the resources you have with online or elsewhere with business books, you don't need to go to college. You don't need to do it. It's just that it's out there. You can find the resources. So don't just dive in, right? Find your purpose. And then as far as being a leader, you can't fake it. You are
Hmm.
who you are. Don't try to be somebody you're not. But you know, I would try to be the type of leader that you would want to follow. Look yourself in the mirror and say, am I being a good leader today? I mean, it's as easy as that. It's not rocket science. Am I the type of person that people want to follow? And if the answer is no, then you better do some work.
It's a pretty simple statement, but it's very powerful.
Yeah. And listen, there are days where I'm not a very good leader, right? We trip and we fall. Like there are days where like I look at myself an hour after a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does it. And I'm like, and that's the reason why I have sticky notes on my computer reminding me to be a better person, to be a better leader, stuff like that. So it's to be humble in that way and have those conversations later on and say, hey, Gary, I messed up, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's
Yeah,
a huge trait that you're talking around, but maybe not identifying. It's just being self-aware and always wanting to be a better leader and wanting to improve and not thinking you have it all figured out, right? If just that self-awareness of where are my gaps at, where are my strengths at, and you want to double down on your strengths and you want to fill up your gaps.
absolutely. Well said. Perfect.
Well, Brian, where can people find out more about FordCom Wireless and FordCom Electric and yourself included if they want to make a connection with you?
Well, I don't do social personally. I swore that off years ago, but our companies have good socials. LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn is the one social that I do. I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously, we have websites, FordCom Wireless. If you Google FordCom Wireless, FordCom Electric, you'll get an idea about who we are and what we do. Great team of folks up in Northeast Ohio. So I'm excited for the future. I'm excited about what you're doing. Very proud of what you've accomplished. And yeah, we'll be around.
Excellent. Brian, thanks for being on. I know people are going to get a lot out of this conversation, just being able to relate to some of your struggles going through. And I appreciate the transparency because a lot of people try to tell the story of, yeah, I had to figure it out. I just did A, B, C, and D, and I did this linear path. And I think most of us have a winding road of how we got to where we're getting or where we've gotten to. And it's probably going to be even more windy as we move forward in our future. So continued success, everything you're going. I appreciate you being on. And if you're watching, stick around, subscribe, more content to come. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks a lot.